morning, guys.
Morning?
Good morning.
What timey-wimey stuff is this?
It's 10 a.m. here.
It's 6 p.m. after a week that's lasted about 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
So, welcome to 3 Do Who, the monthly Doctor Who podcast, where we talk about all things Doctor Who. And this month we're asking the question, is a toilet plunger really the most practical appendage for a species that can't use a toilet? With me today, as always, are my
I thought they
kids.
were like literally sitting on mobile potties. Yes.
Yeah, well, they literally are, yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway,
but why would you put a plunger outside when your potty is inside?
Because if you sit on it when it's inside, it's going to either be pleasure or pain, depending upon which way up it is.
Yeah, I suppose.
Or pleasure as pain.
Yeah.
Or pain as pleasure.
With me today,
Moving swiftly on.
With me today are my two favorite Whovians. Well, one of them. James and Mike.
Well, thanks.
How are you two?
I'm tired.
Me too.
I am. Yeah, in so that people get the context, it was the finale was broadcast last night. My blood pressure still has not normalized.
I was up till about 12:30 watching it.
Yeah,
because I gotta finish watching.
Yeah.
This.
But there'll be more on that later and next month.
Yes. So, what do you say? We jump into some Who news.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Barbie joins the Whovian universe with intergalactic reveal of the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday dolls.
Perfect timing.
Yes. I mean, I have to say the dolls look pretty good.
I thought the Ruby one looked okay, but I saw a close-up of the Doctor face, and I had nightmares.
Yeah, it's a little off. A little off.
It's the eyes. It's the eyes.
I think it's the eyes. I think you're right. I'm looking at it more closely now, and yeah, he does kind of have some bedroom eyes in the doll. I mean, I gotta say it's a little.
Are you going to use that doll in the bedroom? Is that what you're saying?
No. I quit buying Barbies ages ago.
Okay, you're on Ken's now.
Not saying anything.
Yeah, anyway.
So there's a special reaction video on, I believe, TikTok of Shooty reacting to the dolls. But yeah, they're not bad. It's going to be on sale May 23rd, which is of course in the past, so they're on sale now. And you can get them on Amazon US and UK Amazon. So
for no reason whatsoever, of course everyone will know this by now as it goes out, I'm reminded of when Christopher Eccleston was the Doctor, and in the lead up to the first episode,
which you're talking
he
about.
was on Graham Norton and shown the Christopher Eccleston doll, and he's sitting there thinking, I have quit this role and they've made a doll of me. And it's just like, I'm thinking, yeah, Shooty must be really pleased he's got the doll.
Right.
I mean, he looks happier than Eccleston did.
Yeah.
I mean, the promo pictures, he is really like smiling, and it's a genuine Shooty smile, not the fake. Yeah. Really? You guys did this? It looks. I think he's very happy with it, and if he's happy with it, I'm happy. With it.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. So the next is there's a preview of a new 15th Doctor and Belinda adventure called Spectral Scream available. Actually, yeah, May 28th.
The book is now out, and this is the audio book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I've not
looks like a fun book.
There's two of them. There's Spectral Scream and Fear of Death by Water or something. I can't remember what the other one's called. But yeah, it's tying in with.
I'm wondering, is it the same water that in Water of Mars?
I've not read it because I'm going to be really curious to read it because, of course, the 15 and Belinda stories, when you watch them on TV, you don't get the impression that huge amounts of time passes between them.
No.
And we got
although there was kind of in the finale, there was kind of a little bit more of an expanded. Okay, they did travel together a little bit more than we were shown.
But they've got books coming out. There's the Doctor Who magazine comic strip. There's quite a bit to fit in there. It's going to be interesting seeing how they tie in. You see if the Vindicator is in there.
Right.
See if they manage to. I'm hoping they squeeze Mrs. Flood in there somehow.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we shall see. I'll see if I can kind of read at least one of them in the next month.
Is Mrs. Flood still Mrs. Flood now?
That's up for debate.
Okay, all right, just checking.
Yeah, that's a difficult one.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be kind of difficult to determine that until Mrs. Flood shows up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
if she shows up as Mrs. Flood.
Right.
Yeah, and that's got all kinds of fascinating implications for the other bi generation, the Doctor's bi generation. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It's I'm not sure what's. I mean, I was glad if one of them were going to survive. I'm glad it was Mrs. Flood and not the other. I mean, I love the actress who played, the Ronnie.
Yeah,
that's everybody's knows by now because it's way past. Mrs. Flood was the Ronnie. So
I'm glad people know because I've got a whole stack of Ronnie related stuff for later.
Yes. I mean, it was an interesting. She was on my list of top 3 guesses of who she might be.
Yeah. Flood, Rain is an anagram of Rani.
Yeah.
I think that's the line of thought that it's either that or us. Russell T Davies did one of these. Oh, we need someone with tyranny, Virani, the Rani.
Well, like I said, I have to say the actress that played the new Ronnie was pretty good at being the Ronnie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. There was a lot of Kate Amara in there. So yeah, it'll be interesting over the next few years to see if the character returns, and because if it is a Mrs. Flood and it's not Anita Dobson. Then Donna is going to be in for a hell of a shock when David Tennant bumps his head and turns into a different person. Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
So, I guess we did you have any more news items, James?
I was going to mention the Peterborough exhibition.
Oh. Do tell.
And I shall probably bung 100 or so photos your way to start editing in rapid succession as I talk.
Okay.
Right. If you are in America or not in England, by the way, Peterborough is not a big city. It was a massive surprise when the exhibition was announced. They had done stealth marketing for it. We didn't know what was going on. First thing is, to make it clear, it is an unofficial exhibition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is. The rumor is that Peterborough Museum is struggling financially. They needed a way to kind of work out how to get people in. So they held a Doctor Who exhibition. This is on till November. It will still be ongoing as you are watching this. Peterborough Museum is not a large museum, but they have dedicated 3 whole rooms to it. And it is impressive.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a mixture of real props and replica props. And when I say a mixture of, I mean 3 rooms full of, including a full-size TARDIS console, including...
Nice. Which version?
Technically, I think it's supposed to be the Hartnell version.
Oh.
Okay. The downside, of course, of it being a museum exhibition is that you can see it's a replica, because when you look closely at the dials and stuff that they've used for the flickering needle bits, you can see "Made in England" stamped all over them. And I'm pretty sure the paint job was better on the original.
Well, I mean, it was probably bunged together by some fan. And
I mean, no, it is really. There'll be pictures, hopefully, either in the Telegram group or in the video or both or whatever. But along with the obvious, they've got things like a recreation of the Trial ship from Trial of the Time Lord.
Oh, nice.
They have got huge numbers of costume recreations, including some original bits as well of Doctor costumes. The fourth Doctor costume has got the world's scariest Tom Baker head on.
Wait, I thought Tom Baker had the world's scariest Tom Baker.
No, imagine Tom Baker seeing himself in the mirror and going, "What the fuck am I looking at?"
Oh, that good, huh?
Yeah.
So it's Inception Tom Baker.
Yeah. But along with some of the lesser known stuff, there is an entire long wall full of full-size recreations of Cybermen.
Nice.
And in room number 3, not only are there a very large number of full-size replica of Daleks, there is even a half-size replica of the Emperor Dalek from Evil of the Daleks.
Wow.
Cool.
And to show you just how lovingly these exhibits have been done, the Sutek figure, as in the proper Pyramids of Mars Sutek, not the
Right. Not the latest one.
the CGI of Doggy Doom one. If you know your Pyramids of Mars, you will know there is a production error involved in Sutek. They have recreated the production error as part of the exhibition. If you don't want spoilers, close your eyes for the next 5 seconds whilst Eric edits in the picture, or I'll put a spoiler warning if it goes up on the Telegram feed. But yeah, we walked in the room and it was just like, we wonder if they've. Oh my god, they have.
Okay.
The Dalek props and the Cybermen ones are full size. There's loads of original models from the 1980s. The story Warriors of the Deep is especially well represented because a lot of those still exist in the hands of Matt Irvin, who did the models for the show.
Any tin dogs?
There is one, yes.
Nice.
I don't know if he's made a tin though. I don't.
Well, I mean...
And yeah, if you are in Peterborough or if you are near Peterborough, it is £5 to go in.
Wow.
I genuinely think
yes.
it is, for the fact it is 3 large rooms of originals and lovingly put together recreations, it is really well worth it. And I don't know if the merchandise that I picked up will still be available when people go, because they were doing a limited number of knitted Tom Bakers.
Aww.
And there will be a picture of one of those coming up sometime,
Baker.
somewhere.
Yeah, I saw somebody online who did a knitted Tom Baker, and they are adorable.
But this is so not a knitted Tom Baker you are expecting.
Oh.
I'm almost willing to offer a prize to anyone who guesses what the purpose of this knitted Tom Baker is.
All right.
Stop action filmmaking.
Put it this way. I think if you used it incorrectly, you would stop action for sure.
Okay, then. All
right. So yeah, there will be photos. There will be kind of additional captions to go with them, either in this video or on the Telegram channel, or both.
Sweet.
And I will what I'll do is I will send them all over to Eric, and I will let Eric decide which goes where.
I will probably just throw together a montage of them. So
excellent.
While we're talking.
Excellent.
So is that it for any news you have?
Well, I mean, there's just the minor news from last night.
Well,
yes. So I suspect we shall save that for next month because.
Yeah, and we'll know more by next month. I assume we'll
we
know
won't.
a little bit more for next month. You don't think so?
There's been a press release already. We won't know more by next month.
Oh.
So yeah, we'll talk about that though next month, and we'll talk about what we don't know, because there are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns, to misquote whoever it
Yeah,
was.
and the end credits did not make it very obvious. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
at the end
Yeah.
that makes you wonder. So,
but we have 4 episodes to get through today.
We do, and so I figured since there are 3 of us and 4 episodes, we would just kind of go through each one and discuss what we liked about it, what we didn't like about
that sounds
it,
best.
and go on. I'm not going to do recaps of the episodes
No.
for this because it's too many episodes, and I know James has a huge who knows probably that to go through.
Yeah.
So we're talking about episodes 4 through 7 of season 2 of the 15th Doctor. So let's just jump right in. Lucky Day. I liked Lucky Day the first half, and then when Conrad revealed himself to be an utter piece of crap, I really hit the character.
He's definitely some Santorum, that's for sure.
God, yeah. It just I did not like you saw the TARDIS appear and now you're pretending that it was
right.
something.
I have a really
unit made up.
really genuine question, because I'm not a conspiracy podcast person. I tend to listen to kind of.
I mean, I like conspiracy podcasts. I don't believe them, but I love to listen to them because they make me laugh.
So before Ruby went on the podcast, what did Conrad podcast about?
That's what he was podcasting about. He was podcasting about the Doctor.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the case, that he podcasted about the Doctor
and UNIT and all the other government cover-ups.
I want to know then why Kate didn't stamp on that podcast.
Yeah, me too. Because we know that UNIT has a very tight control over media and social media. And that was the big aspect of it that I did not buy into. That Kate would let Ruby go on the podcast and talk about all this stuff without basically wiping her mind, his mind, and every copy of the podcast. And I'm almost thinking it has to do with the Ronnie. With what happens in this overreaching season arc seems to be because of what they've done to reality.
Because also, I mean, he doesn't. I mean, he seems to kind of be able to summon up this army of podcast people out of seemingly nowhere and turn the entire country against. And
well, have you seen what's going on here in the U.S.?
My other problem, though, and I was really, really hoping that I could get away with not ever having to mention this, is that the Doctor is living on Earth through the whole of 2025. Where the fuck was he when UNIT was being pissed on from a high by this podcast person?
Yeah, why did it take him till the very end of the episode to say, "Oh shit, I better go and tell them not to fuck with Ruby"?
I mean, he is living in that hotel.
Yes.
Did he not look at a paper, hear any podcasts, look at social media? What was he doing in 2025 that he allowed that to happen?
Honestly, we know he knows how to drive. So it's not like he couldn't have just drove down there to UNIT and said, "Hey, Kate, this is not right."
Mind you, this is also a Doctor who lived through 2025 and failed to notice that he was living in a timeline that had just been destroyed.
Yes.
More of which later.
Yes.
It was for me, it was an interesting idea, but one that I did not buy into. I just did not think that Conrad was charismatic enough to be able to command that kind of... This is England, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
We tut. You know, I mean, it's just...
Well, I mean, the only thing I can think of is it's part of the influence from the reality wars.
Yeah, it's the only explanation.
Has masked his appearance from UNIT, and we know that the Ronnie targeted UNIT specifically, by the end.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, as with so much of this whole season, there was so much dangling from it that I really felt needed more explanation. And I think out of all of New Who, this season in particular is the one where they should have had 2-part stories to allow the plot to actually develop.
Mm-hmm. I think that people wouldn't be so upset with the finale if we had maybe had another 4 or 5 episodes for this season to actually flesh out the story. I think it was a little bit rushed. The whole story arc was a little bit rushed.
And as I will be pointing out as we go along, there are massive inconsistencies in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
I mean...
So I have a theory about the reason it's rushed. I don't think RTD expected Ncuti to quit after this season. And I this is just my theory. And so it seemed to me that these 4 episodes, like you said, they're rushed, they're put together. There's a lot of plot holes. There's a lot of things. They also open up for the next series, who is ever going to be the showrunner, to basically take it and run with it. So in my mind, if somebody says to me, I'm quitting in 2 weeks, okay, now I got to figure out how to get everything wrapped up to make it somewhat palatable.
Ncuti has gone on record and said he only ever signed up for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But whether or not Ncuti is being contractually diplomatic is another matter. But yeah, it has long been rumoured that he had only ever agreed to do the 2.
2? Well, then RTD, you fucked the pooch.
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that Ncuti's nickname?
Yeah.
The pooch?
Yeah. But there have been... I didn't say I wasn't going to them, but to say, especially around the end of season 1, there were a lot of very negative rumors going around about the behind-the-scenes atmosphere. I think they handled the whole everything very badly.
I kind of agree.
The stuff about Millie was handled extremely badly. I don't think that did the series any favors. I think it painted the showrunner in a very bad light.
Yeah.
And I think, that unfortunately has led to a lot of people trying to read into things about why plots and stories and stuff happened.
Yeah.
I think Ncuti was a mistake if he wasn't able to commit to doing kind of, the 2 films. I mean, Lucky Day was his 3rd Doctor Light story?
Yes. Yeah. In a 16 episode run.
Yeah. I mean, that's just,
if
he wasn't available, they should have done something.
They should have postponed.
Yeah.
I mean, it would not be the first time that we've had postponed seasons.
No. And as I said, I think because of all of the rumors that went round, I think RTD has painted the backstage of this season in particular, Lucky Day very much so, in a very dodgy light. And someone I think really, now that it's over, needs to state this was the plan all along, or no, we changed our minds, or make it clear what was going on. Because several people have said that they've watched things like Unleashed and stuff like that, and they've just thought there's something not right. So, and I think Lucky Day is possibly the biggest victim of that. Yeah.
I like I said, it's my least favorite episode of this season's arc. Just because the character was just so unlikable and unrealistic as far as what he got. The only thing I could say is, again, it had to be the reality war influence that allowed him to get away with what he got. And we know that Ronnie was planning, long game. So
Yeah, but more of that next month.
Yeah. But let's move on to the story in the engine, which I liked, but I think could have been left out because I think it would have been better to leave it out and actually build on the arc. I think it was not really
I mean,
helpful to the story arc.
the only connecting thread from the story in the engine is the little girl.
Yeah.
No, Mrs. Flood is in there as well.
Well, but Mrs. Flood's and everything.
Yeah.
So
they could have put her in another story that actually tied this
right.
arc together better than this story did. Like I said, as a standalone story, I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And
I mean,
I think this is the thing. Again, going back to this, we only had 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm. They should have used them more wisely.
Yeah, I say this would have been a great standalone episode with none of the stuff about, we can't get to 2025, 2019 is the closest we can get. You know, I think it would have been, a really nice standalone.
I'm almost saying this one would have been a better special.
Yeah.
Like, if they put this as the Christmas special, I would have totally loved it. I mean, and I like I said, I did love the episode. I thought the episode was good. I loved this whole story arc of that episode. But it didn't really have much to do with this season's story arc.
Yeah,
and
to me, it seemed very convoluted. They threw a lot of stuff into that episode.
Yeah,
they threw a lot of back lore. They threw a lot of
for a one-off episode.
Right, for throwbacks to other things. You know, the fugitive doctor.
The
fugitive doctor.
I mean, that was a fun little,
right. And so who was? But I'm sitting there watching it, going, so who's this person? Why is she so mad at the world? And why didn't the fugitive doctor take her with her? And I was like, there's just too many questions.
It felt to me like they were trying to set the fugitive doctor up for a return in the finale or for a Christmas special or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that would be a great Christmas special.
Yeah.
Also.
I mean, did they actually get the actual actress to do it, or was that a CGI from?
No, that was her
performance.
That was her. Yeah.
Okay,
they got her in for a 15-second cameo, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which is why it would have been easy to make it just a CGI thing. You know, take her off of their other thing, plug it in there, and
But yeah, I mean, as you say, there was so much in there that could have been expanded and could have been its whole blooming season.
Yeah. Well, it could have been, but like if they'd done that as a Christmas special, about a 2-hour Christmas special, I think it would have been great.
And the problem that I had with it, and I know some of my friends did as well, is given that the 2 shooty seasons are all about the pantheon of gods,
right.
To then introduce gods that are not part of the pantheon of gods, it's just like, give us breathing room. Don't overlap one thing onto a similar thing and expect us to kind of...
I was like, you can't mix Marvel and DC. Stop it.
Right, yeah.
That was my main problem. It's just it was out of place in the season. It was a lovely story.
It was a waste. It was a waste of this season's story arc time. They could have used it to fill in some more of the spots that we're missing in this season to make it make more sense.
I mean, it was lovely though that they worked out a story that could only have been the Shooty Doctor.
Yes, yeah, and it was definitely a love letter to Shooty. I mean, it gave him a little bit of
and the idea of plaiting the map into his hair was brilliant.
It was beautiful. Yes. I thought that was an excellent part of this. The story itself was good. It was too short and
it didn't fit
out of
anywhere.
place. Yeah.
It's like driving on your spare tire donut when you have a flat tire.
Yeah.
Your car's just a little wonky when you're driving that way.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it needed to be in this season.
Yeah.
It would have been much better as a standalone.
It's very interesting as well that they've only announced books of the first 3, I think, from this season. And this is not one they are novelizing. I thought of all the ones that would have been perfect as a novel, it's the one about stories.
Especially when you can use the theater of your mind to make it so much better than it's a missed opportunity.
Massive missed opportunity, yeah.
As far as we know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they made a book of it eventually. Hopefully, fingers crossed, because I really would love to read the book. The Story in the Engine would be much better, I think.
We're getting the Robot Revolution, Lux, and I think it's the Well as the books.
Okay. Well, should we move on to my second favorite episode?
Oh, let's Duggadoo.
Yes, let's Duggadoo. Duggadoo. So the next episode is in Interstellar Song Contest.
Juno Dawson must be really pissed off. She writes this wonderful story that savages Israel, that really rams home all the politics and what the fans take away. The singing worm.
Yes. I mean, it is catchy, but I really would have liked if they'd released the full version of the song that ended this, or ended the episode, because I thought that was really, you could tell it for the character, it meant something.
Yeah. I say it does. It's a wonderful example, though. Yeah. It's happened so many times over the 60-odd years that writers have done this really big, powerful story, and the fans have fallen in love with the pet rock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens. This happens in every George Lucas Star Wars movie. It's not the actors, the heroes. It's the robots.
Yeah.
It's one of the little cute robots that they put in that becomes the focus of it. And I mean, I know Lucas has said that the stories are actually told from the robots' perspectives, but it's still like nobody flocks to the heroes as much as they do to the cute robots.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things. I guess we as humans are kind of hardwired to flock to something cute and innocent.
I was about to say cute. I can see why I'm doing this podcast with you two, but innocent. Anyway.
No, well, yeah.
But yeah,
fair enough.
It was good though, and I am disappointed Judy didn't sing.
I think after the clusterfuck of an episode last season, with the singing, maybe just as well.
Maybe.
Wait a minute, who didn't sing? What are you talking about?
Shooty.
Oh, Shooty, yeah.
The Doctor did not get up and perform.
I thought you said she didn't sing, so it was kind of
confusing.
No. It's like,
Shooty.
Okay.
Still waking up.
I have a few issues with this story, which relates to the arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where I do feel, again, as though Russell T Davies was planning one arc, told the guest writers about another one, and between them they put out a third one, which they then changed halfway through to make a fourth.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in this one, it is categorically stated the Earth was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which I suppose ties back to that shot from Robot Revolution of the Eiffel Tower and the New York taxi cab floating through space randomly. Yeah, that never really made sense. Yet somehow...
Yeah, it was very Crisis 3.
Yet somehow, given that the Earth was unexpectedly destroyed, they still managed to salvage Rylan from before the explosion. They managed to build up enough of information to recreate a hologram Graham Norton.
Hologram Graham Norton.
Yeah.
They're still humans.
There are still some.
They're still humans.
No,
because...
there aren't.
Yeah, there are.
The well makes it clear that there are no humans.
Oh, yeah.
What about Mark and Gary?
They're clearly not. They're not human. One of them is from Tryon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this was one of the problems I had with the arc, is that the kind of the changes to time, the fate of the Earth. We've once again got a showrunner who's got an idea, but hasn't thrashed out the details of it, and so the other writers and stuff are kind of well, what can we because also, I mean, this was set, what was it, 800 years in the future?
Yeah, it was 2975 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say, it just, how would they have known about the song contest? You know, because the Earth was destroyed in 2025, and it's like, how did
yeah.
Again, another one which, if it had been a standalone story, would have been perfect.
Yeah. I think So here's two missed opportunities to expand this season's arc and make more sense to people.
And I'm going to throw this out there because it just popped into my head. We could be in an entirely different timeline because they keep referring to it as Mavity instead of gravity. And that could be an altered timeline from when they visited Isaac Newton.
I mean, the say the timeline issue, which definitely is an issue for next month. It is just an absolute confusion because, you know, in Robot Revolution they decide that the Earth doesn't exist, and they keep bouncing off this kind of temporal thing.
Right.
You've got the Well, where they've never heard of humanity, they've never heard of the Earth, but the creature from Midnight knew the Doctor from Midnight, even though that story was set featuring lots of humans. You know, you've got things like the Interstellar Song Contest, where it's like, well, if the Earth was unexpectedly destroyed, how did Rylan survive? You know,
maybe he was abducted prior to.
And how did they get all the data to recreate Graham Norton?
Yeah, I mean, it's
if it's gone, it's gone.
The only thing I can think of, I mean, it does make sense. It takes a long time for radio waves to propagate in space. I mean, depending on where you're at, they may have received them, and somebody may have stored them and thought, "Hey, this is interesting."
I think so. Graham Norton been doing it for England. When did Terry die? So he's been doing it about 15, 20 years or something. Terry Wogan did it for a lot longer.
Yeah.
You know, it would actually have made more sense to try and do a CGI Terry Wogan. I know the practicalities, you know.
Yeah.
But Terry Wogan was the famous one, you know.
Yeah. But I think, you know, given that it's RTD, I'm guessing, you know, he wants to promote gay actors and you know, Graham Norton being, you know, a famous gay person.
Graham Norton is gay? Never.
I just outed him.
Yeah.
No, as my father used to say, he's a little light in the loafers.
So yeah, I loved it as a story. When the beat of Making Your Mind Up kicked in, oh my god, I was getting goosebumps. I was just like, but the arc does not work.
No, it didn't help. It did not help the story for the season at all.
And then to end it with the exploding TARDIS doors, which never got picked up the next episode.
That was it.
Yeah. But again, I mean, more on that again next month, because next month we'll be discussing the finale and other bits and pieces. But there was just so much that you know, could have been done. That if they had more time to do the arc, they could have actually kind of ironed out a lot of these wrinkles. There's a massive load of them for next month. You know, it just the story, the Juno Dawson bit. Juno Dawson, by the way, who did Doctor Who Redacted, which was fantastic. Who's done The Good Doctor, which is one of the by complete chance, it's actually within grasping distance. There you go. She's fantastic. I think she is the newness of her voice shone through in the episode, and it was ballsed up by the arc.
Yeah. I mean, it was, if you just watch it as a standalone episode, it was fun. I enjoyed the episode itself, but not as part of the story.
And of course, the revelation that Mrs. Flood, Time Lady, is the Rani.
Yes.
It's very difficult to link Mrs. Flood with the Rani.
Yes.
The Rani from Wishworld is so Kate O'Mara. She's got everything.
Yes.
Apparently she watched the stories and didn't want to copy it, but wanted elements to come through. And element. But Anita Dobson as Mrs. Flood, at no point did she kind of actually convince as being the Rani.
Yeah, her Mrs. Flood, the character Mrs. Flood, is a way nicer character. Still evil, but just way. She's got a hint of a conscience in her,
and
where the Rani has no conscience at all.
She didn't even really need to be in disguise. Why the Mrs. Flood disguise?
Yeah.
It was pointless.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think is we have seen certain iterations of the Doctor who are completely opposite from the previous iterations of the Doctor, and I'm wondering if that just didn't happen when she. I mean, because she did say it was a cocked up, little trick that she had to do to escape, and that it changed her a bit. So
we've got 4 weeks before the next podcast recording, and I'm still good. Yeah. I'm not thinking I'm gonna have long enough to work out what the hell went on.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what she was talking about. It seemed like the Doctor wasn't quite sure either.
But it was a fantastic moment, and the right. I think I mentioned this last month. It would have been the mother of all surprises if Doctor Who magazine hadn't fucked it totally.
Yeah.
So basically, the Doctor Who magazine, not the issue that is out now, but the previous one, it had previews of all the stories up to and including the Interstellar Song Contest. And then on the back page, in the next issue stuff, it said, Mrs. Flood, the truth revealed, which basically meant that it had to be in the Interstellar Song Contest, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to put it in the next issue.
Right.
So I was sitting there going, "Are we going to get the reveal yet?" Yeah. So thanks DWM, thanks for kind of officially, actually kind of spoiling the fact there was going to be a tag scene. Yeah.
All right. So should we move on to Wishworld?
Sure.
Can someone tell me what happens between Interstellar Song Contest and Wishworld, please?
Nothing.
I don't know, because there's a big gap there.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like an episode missing from
exactly.
And again, it's if we dropped, say, the story in the engine, which I'm glad we didn't, because I really love it.
I am too, because like I said, I think it's a lovely episode.
But it would have then given time to actually expand on what was going on. As you said, it felt like there was a missing episode.
Yeah. And I mean, there could have been. Maybe we'll find out someday.
Because, end of Interstellar, we get the TARDIS doors exploding inwards, we get the revelation of the bigeneration and everything, and then suddenly we are however many months down the line, the Doctor is living as John Smith with his wife and his kid.
Again.
Mel is his neighbour, and cups fall through tables, and somehow he's getting messages from Rogue.
That was so sad.
Well,
I just about cried when I saw that, because I was like,
trouble is, I now don't think it really was Rogue.
Yeah.
May not have been.
I think it was him hallucinating again.
Could be.
I don't think it was actually a message from Rogue. I think it was the Doctor's subconscious creating the message rather than it being a real one.
And because, the Doctor is still very conflicted about the fact that he, basically threw Rogue into him.
So it's a very difficult one to process because there's too much missing.
Yeah. I did like the whole 50s Stepford wife type of vibe that it had. I thought it was a nice kind of palate cleanser from just the weird, chaotic season that we've had, I thought it was kind of a nice kind of lesson. All right, let's try to, set this finale up. But I think they fell a little bit short from.
And I haven't seen that many bowlers and umbrellas in a public place in a long time.
Right.
All I'm saying is John Steed wants his look back.
Right? Oh, it looks so much like John Steed. I
was convinced he was going to turn out to be some kind of government agent or something,
Yeah. Instead of an insurance man.
Yeah. Painfully on the nose about disability.
Yes. I that part, the whole, disability and gays, because Conrad's such a bigoted piece of crap, that he would not notice them, so that they don't exist officially in reality, and that people don't see them,
right.
was that was it was an obvious dig, but it was also, valid. It was super valid.
Yeah.
Because I work in the mobility industry, and it's a lot of times when I help somebody out, they're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. You don't realize how long I've been trying to get this taken care of, and nobody will help me."
Yeah. I'd say I just really wish bad choice of words. That we could have had an extra episode,
yes,
to help space the information out, put the missing information in, and when we talk about the finale next episode, I'm going to have a great long list of questions that are still dangling. I don't mean about the continuation of that ending. I mean about the whole bloody 2 years of
there's some real head scratchers in the finale, that we will discuss, but it's just like the arc just is missing quite a few key moments to try and tie everything together in a nice, neat package.
Because somehow, not only did Mrs. Flood, aka the Rani, know about the Vindicator, she had a device that it was perfectly capable of plugging into all of a sudden.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, when did you, how did you, what did you,
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little head scratchy. Like, unless she planted the idea of the Vindicator in the Doctor's subconscious somehow.
But again, it's that kind of bit that there should have been some point during the series.
And the Doctor should have been able to know. We do know that Gallifreyans are on some level telepathic. And we do know that they can screw with each other, in a considerable amount of ways. And I would think that being alone as long as he's been alone, or they've been alone, because the Doctor can be any gender, being that alone that long, you would think that, like, that little tickle at the back of his brain, somebody screwing with his subconscious would immediately alert him. Because when it's quiet, and it's been quiet for a long time, you notice a whisper in a room.
There's too many places where we are very obviously missing stuff.
Right. I just think I think RTD rushed this season, and that's
I think he did too.
Yeah, I think it's not great.
I'm actually, this is a peeve. I'm getting tired of being told that the Doctor was the sole survivor of the Gallifreyan destruction, and yet we've got the Master, we've got Missy, we've got all these other Time Lords that show up.
And I've heard rumors that the meddling monk will at some point make a return.
So every time the Doctor says my entire world was destroyed and I'm the sole survivor, he should say, except for
all the Time Lords that are running around throughout history.
Yes, exactly.
Could go to the future if they wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. That I'm not going to say too much now, because that is going to form part of my Who Knows bit next month. Yeah. Because there's a lot of real kind of It's happened numerous times, not just in the TV series, but in the expanded universe as well. And as a result, yeah, if you think you're tired of it,
I also like to say I liked the tie-in to Star Trek. I really did like that when he said, "I'm activating the Nexus." If you that was a Star Trek plot.
So, what was it Rose said way back in series 1? Give me some Spock. That's not what we meant.
Right.
But yeah, I say I'm going to hold off on commenting on that because that's basically a big chunk of my who knows next month. Because yeah, I have questions. But again, it's questions that I feel someone should have taken Russell T Davies aside and said, have you given this consideration? You know, the fans watch this. The fans know the previous 60-odd years inside out. These are the things they're going to ask. What are your answers going to be? No one is questioning RTD at BBC or Disney level.
No.
And that is really my main problem.
Well, I'm not going to say no one because one of the interviews that I read with RTD, and I only read like a snippet of it, but it was because I was in between doing stuff at work, was that he thinks it's time to pass the torch to somebody else.
The time was in 2010 when he passed the torch.
I know, but
what
I'm saying is I think he realizes he can't do this anymore.
He's run out of ideas. This is season 2, but it's season 15 or however,
Yeah.
And I worked out on Blue Sky, we've had on average more than one reset switch per season. This season, this Doctor alone, we've had in Space Babies, time was reset twice.
Yep.
In Devil's Cord, time was reset and actually still left hanging and don't understand what went back and what didn't. You then had 73 Yards where time was reset. You then had Legend of Ruby Sunday and you had Empire of Death where time was reset. You had Joy to the World, which was a paradox story. You had, officially time has gone wonky in The Well. It has gone wonky in the Robot Revolution. We have got issues with the timeline kind of in Interstellar Song Contest. We have had literally 10 or 11 episodes explicitly out of the 16 or 17 or whatever stating, this week time has been changed by, rolls the dice, the Vogons. Oh, well,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I chose the Vogons was because I was thinking they demolished the Earth deliberately. And I would have loved it if it had turned out that the reason the Rani was there... the Rani acting as a Vogon agent to demolish it would have been brilliant.
Right. As long as we don't have to hear Vogon poetry.
That's right.
No, we have to hear Shuji singing instead. Right.
Yes.
So, of course, we're going to save Reality War for next month.
Yes, right. Let's do. So I think that brings us to some trivia. Who knows trivia?
Right. Because I was trying to think. There's been so much in these last 2 seasons, and I was actually, it's all very well saying so much in the last 2 seasons. We've now got bugger all till 2027.
Yeah,
we've got the war between land and sea.
I think that they're going to find a good writer and showrunner to take.
But yeah,
or maybe showrunners. It might be. I think it might be helpful if they switch to having a co-run team, something to bounce off of each other with.
So what I've done is I've pulled out some both official and unofficial expanded universe stuff. Some of which is very good, and the rest of the stack is not. Because one of the things that Doctor Who has always done is survived. Okay?
Yes.
And I wanted to kind of, highlight some of the more unofficial non-Doctor Who stuff, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because canon is a strange one. So let's start with the most canon-destroying, officially licensed Doctor Who of all time, and let's start with one that features the Rani.
Okay.
Okay, this was a fad in the 80s and 90s. Choose your own adventure books.
Oh yes.
Oh, gosh, I remember those.
There were
so great.
There were 6 done in the 80s. A very strange set of books, actually. Because, apart from the fact that you are the companion, of course, you've got this one, which is the Rani one, Race Against Time, written by Pip and Jane Baker, who created the character. But of course, being a choose your own adventure thing, how do you fit this into continuity when you can die on every other page? Yeah. The great thing about these, there was actually kind of a very, very strange set of authors for them. You've got Pip and Jane Baker. I think it was Philip Martin did one, who wrote the Sill stories. And you even had one which was written by a guy called William Ems, who basically wrote one Doctor Who story in the 1960s, Galaxy 4. Spent the next umpteen years getting his stories rejected, and so reused one of them as a choose your own adventure book, which somehow then got published. And then, of course, that all died out in the 80s. So, of course, I don't have another 12, 13, 14, 15, another 16 of them next to me, which were published for the 10th Doctor, the 12th Doctor, and the 11th Doctor. Basically, anyone who says, oh, the books are definitely canon, pass them a choose your own adventure and say, canonize this, and let's see them work that out. 80s. The reason I wanted to start with the 80s is because, of course, that was when Doctor Who first went off the air for 18 months, which is essentially kind of the gap we're probably looking at now.
Yes.
Now, in that time, there was a very well-known set of amateur in the air quotation marks, Doctor Who audio dramas called the audio visuals. Most of these, if not all of them, are doing the rounds regularly on YouTube and torrent sites, and you can kind of blag them off people. Right. I mean, the fact that the Doctor is played by a little-known actor called Nicholas Briggs, is neither here nor there. The fact that they're kind of written by people like Gary Russell, who then went on to do the Sarah Jane Adventures and edit Doctor Who magazine and all kinds of things. Basically, the audiovisuals, people weren't massively happy with how Doctor Who was going in the 80s. So, that sounds a bit familiar. So basically, so they did their own. They're, of course, definitely not canon.
Right.
Especially not the ones which were then later adapted into Big Finish stories. Because, Big Finish borrowed from them quite heavily. But it must be said, the audiovisuals were not the only ones doing the rounds, okay? They're the main ones. I've got one here. Have a flashback. Audio cassette. This is one of many, many fan dramas that did the rounds in the 80s and early 90s. This one was done by a company called Fine Line. This was in the days when basically you had to send them a blank cassette and they would copy the stuff onto the tape and send it back to you.
Wow.
Check. I'll say I'll try and scan this in if I can. Check out the paper thin kind of cassette inlay. Paper thin, yeah. And the gorgeous kind of old style computer print.
Definitely.
I dug this one out literally half an hour before we started recording. And I've just noticed something, and I'm going to check because there is a name on here that I recognise.
Oh?
I mean, I have this one because my friend, who's now no longer with us, was associated with Fine Line. Gary, if you are listening from the Beyond or whatever, miss you massively. But yeah, I hadn't ever looked at these recently. I mean, it's tapes. I've got them on MP3 kind of thing. Right. Incidental music by Chris Naylor. I need to find out if this is the Chris Naylor who is currently playing Harry Sullivan for Big Finish, because
yeah,
it could be. Yeah, it's like, hi, do you recognise this? So yeah, the more you look into the fan productions of the 80s, the more familiar names you are going to see.
And as a slight aside to your cassette media, anybody who still has cassette media, especially if you're living in a high humidity area, before you try to play that in a cassette player, please throw it in a dehydrator. Buy a cheap dehydrator, throw it in a dehydrator, and let it sit in there for 24 or 48 hours. Otherwise, your tape is going to stick. You're going to ruin a tape, and you're not going to be able to listen to it ever again.
Yeah. So if I can do this without breaking my arm, so I've mangled my elbow the other day. I have 1 or 2 Doctor Who cassettes.
Yes, I know. I've seen them.
Have you digitized them all?
Thankfully, nearly all of those are available digitally, either officially or unofficially. Again, it wasn't until I dug this out for the purposes of the Who Knows that I realized there's a couple in there I need to check. So,
there are those things that, you may be the only one with a last remaining copy of something. Don't just throw it in a tape deck and hope that it's going to work. You need to take some precautions. A lot of this non-digital media that we're trying to save needs to be archived properly. So please be careful with it.
There are some audio interviews with people like John Pertwee in there, Peter Davison, which I don't think have ever been released commercially again. So I need to hunt around to see.
So anybody that has this old media, just please be careful with it. Realize that you may be the holder of the last surviving copy.
Yes.
And you have a duty to everybody to try and make sure that it survives. And if you're going to archive it,
just as an aside as well, it's not just the only remaining copy, because just like things like Star Wars, again, just because I happen to see it on top, these ones, the archive tapes, the history of the Cybermen, I think they were edited before they were then re-released on CD.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things, they're not the same as the digital versions that kind of came out.
Correct.
So yeah. And anyway, back to the 80s. I mean, the 80s were wild.
Oh yeah.
The 80s. So
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Not so much personally.
No. Doctor Who. I mean, the BBC. The initial idea was to educate and entertain. And so I present to you, by the way, just for shits and giggles, Doctor Who's attempt at the educate part.
Ooh, okay.
Doctor Who, the quiz book of dinosaurs.
Ooh.
Okay.
These, by the way, are fantastic. They bear no relation to any Doctor Who you have ever seen.
It's just less Doctor Who on the cover and get people to buy it.
No, actually, no. The Doctor is in there doing time trips to educate his companions, Tegan and Turlough. So we got dinosaurs. That's a reasonable one. We got the quiz book of science. Doctor Who,
okay. Reasonable. Yes.
We got the quiz book of space, also
again,
reasonable. We got the quiz book of magic.
Okay. All with Peter Davison.
Stage magic. It's stage magic that they're showing on there, not
how to summon up the devil. Right. By the way, if you want to see some really, really kind of like high quality Doctor Who artwork, don't look in these. Because that...
Oh my gosh!
Nice.
So anyway, that was the 80s. The 80s were kind of a very strange time. Also, round about that time, what year was it? It was 65 pence. Good God. I'm trying to find a copyright date, which of course I can't now see. These are available on CD as talking books, talking pamphlets. You're safe, by the way. This is not the Australian version. This is the kiddies
okay.
version.
Thank goodness.
This is K9 and the Time Trap, one of 4 books aimed at... No one knows who they were aimed at. Young kids. This is, by the way, where you get to find out in the future K9 travels in his own spaceship.
Yes.
K-Nell.
God.
Now, why do you think I have chosen this one in particular?
Because you know I love K9.
No.
Oh.
Because, right, try as he might, K9 could not gain control of his craft. It was landed for him. When he trundled out with his blaster at the ready, he was met by a giant, awesome figure in a purple cloak that hissed as it swept the floor. The figure's head was completely encased in a red helmet, and red light shone behind the slit in the visor. The figure advanced slowly towards him, dragging one leg. My name is Omegon.
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God.
Basically, this is the start of spin-offs sailing close to the wind with what they can and cannot get away with in terms of continuity. Right. And if you think that is bad, right, in the 90s, right, into the CD age, and again, these do the rounds on all kinds of sites. There are, I think they're still officially available. This is the first one. This is CD, The Audio Adventures in Time and Space. Do you recognize the 2 people on the front?
No. Okay.
Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred.
Right. Yeah.
Playing
I suppose,
the Professor and Ace.
Right.
Yeah, the BBC copyright lawyers definitely didn't take any notice of these. Yeah. But again, you kind of look at the people involved and you're going to start seeing some very familiar names. They started out as the Professor and Ace.
Right.
The BBC copyright lawyers did get involved and it soon got changed to the Dominy and Alice. But you would think that the company kind of had learnt their lesson from that. They sort of did, they sort of didn't. Right. You have... This was a range called BBV. Okay, it was Audio Adventures in Time and Space. You have the adventures of a time traveller called Fred.
Fred the Time Traveller.
Played, by the way, by Nicholas Briggs. Oh, I wonder. This was the first story in a story called Cyber Hunt. Yeah, no guesses as to what they were ripping off then. The fact that they eventually even degenerated into releasing stories like Cyberons. Yeah.
This is robots and Transformers.
Yeah. Guess who's coming up next?
Let's see.
They got sort of the rights to K9, but not Romana. So it's The Mistress and K9 Adventures in a Pocket Universe. Colin Baker did a whole load of them and their videos as well in a role called The Stranger.
Okay.
The fact that The Stranger on video was accompanied by Miss Brown is complete and utter fluke. Definitely nothing there. And then, they did actually start forking out for some copyright. Sontarans crop up. Okay.
All right.
Zygons crop up.
So did their cover art. It got better.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The Rani reaps the whirlwind. Complete with Kate O'Mara as the Rani in a story by Pip and Jane Baker. It was released with 2 different covers. There was the regular cover.
Yes.
And there was the rather dull alternate cover, but that has an advantage.
Signature, yes.
It's a signature, yeah. The Rani Reaps the Whirlwind was another official. Pip and Jane Baker were very protective of the Rani. She crops up literally in the Choose Your Own Adventure book. She crops up in the audio that they wrote. There is only one other 90s product featuring the Rani that I could think of. One of the Virgin Missing Adventures has the Rani as a surprise villain. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to spoil it, because it was actually genuinely a surprise when she turns up.
Well, okay.
It's also the book, though, that features William Hartnell in a loincloth.
No one wants to see that.
No.
Now I'm going to scrub my brain of that.
No.
Right. To finish off with...
shooting a loincloth.
A couple of... Yeah.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
It's
gone.
A couple of last ones. One which is very relevant. One which I actually genuinely thought might be relevant.
Okay.
Right. This is an interesting one. This is a book called Campaign. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is written by a guy called Jim Mortimore, who wrote a lot of the books in the 90s. So it's not like he was a complete unknown or anything. He pitched this to the BBC. The BBC accepted it. He then sent them more and more extracts from it, and the BBC said, "What the fuck is this?" The fact that by the end of it is degenerated into
comics,
and you then have that's the bit I was looking for. Kind of rather funky, interesting layout, text and stuff.
Well, it was the 90s. Mixed media was all the rage.
But basically,
word clouds were the thing, man.
But basically, the BBC said, "What you're sending us is not what we commissioned. Bye-bye." So he's self-published. And the reason I actually thought this might have been relevant is because it features stories within stories, a kind of almost like a Wish World type thing. And and then the last one. This is official. This is a modern, up-to-date product. I've mentioned these guys before. I will sing their praises every chance I get. These are cutaway comics featuring the worlds of Doctor Who. So not Doctor Who itself, but the things they can get official copyright for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look what one of their 4-part stories was. Omega. To the extent... Not just the fact that they did the 4 issues, they also even, because it's a Kickstarter type thing, they reach their stretch goals. They even have an audio drama featuring Brian Blessed as Omega.
Wow.
Yeah, they're good. Seriously, they got Brian Blessed for an audio.
That is a really good get for.
I'm not saying that they kind of appeal to the stereotype comic book, but there's one of the variant covers.
Yeah. Wow. It's the last month's episode about the pendulous crops.
Yeah. Strangely enough, on one of the other installments, she's not quite so well padded.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
she must have gone to the planet of the Autons and got a little bit of plastic surgery.
So the moral of this is that whether or not you have copyright, whether or not you kind of are fussed about whether your artwork kind of looks like the people it's supposed to, Doctor Who will keep going.
Oh yeah.
No one should look at the current situation and go, "Oh no, Doctor Who's never coming back."
It's not over. It's not over. It's coming back.
It will come back somehow, and the fans will keep it coming. As I said, I started talking about the audio visuals. There are now so many, because audio editing is so much easier. Yes. There are so many audio dramas out there. Get involved with them. It's great. I've done it. Along with my own YouTube channel with the Talking Books, I've actually done some of these audio dramas. It's brilliant. Just kind of like, the imagination that has gone into some of them is far better than the imagination that goes into the official licensed TV show.
Fan fiction has always been always been one of those things where you've got people who truly love the characters, and know what direction they want to go with the characters.
And more importantly, out there are so many doctors who are non-binary, who are queer, lesbian, gay, goth, emo, punk. Yeah, you will find the Doctor Who that is for you.
Yep.
And even if Russell T Davies's vision isn't your vision, there will be dramas out there that really, really float your boat. And Gary, wherever you are, up or down or sideways, whatever, thank you for introducing me to audio dramas all those years ago. You changed my life. Thank you. And that's it. Yeah. But next month, we're gonna get timey-wimey. Believe me.
It's gonna.
Yeah.
On so many levels. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on another journey through time and space with the Doctor. Remember, you can support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube or subscribing on Buzzsprout for as little as $3 a month. You can send us an email at 3dowho@gmail.com or a text from 3dowho@buzzsprout.com. The link is at the top of every episode's show notes. Make sure to include a way to contact us or yourself, as we don't know because Buzzsprout doesn't give us any of that. So whatever episode you're referencing that you would like clarification on or want to comment on, and a way to contact you, or at least a name so that we can, shout you out on a future episode. Follow us on Blue Sky, 3dowho.bsky.social, or join us on Telegram group chat at 3dowho, all one word. And that's it.
Any final words, Eric? Gotcha.
I saved those for the final.
Okay.
Yeah, final isn't forever.
No.
That's the one I'm going to go out with. Final isn't forever.
No, and we know over 60 plus years the Doctor's changed a lot.
A lot.
Will continue to change, and will continue to be sometimes infuriating and sometimes glorious. So
and always wonderful.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Goodbye, everybody.